Can you shoot someone in South Africa? And if you do, will you go to jail? Stick around as we uncover what the South African law says about shooting in self-defense. It's no surprise that South Africa has become one of the murder capitals of the world, with over 80 people being murdered in this beautiful country just today. We are looking at upwards of 30,000 murders per year, upwards of 50,000 rapes per year, of which only about 5 to 10% are actually reported. That's quite a staggering number. We also are sitting with currently about 200,000 assaults. So the crime in this beautiful country of ours is really getting out of hand. Now, couple that with the police going on record recently stating that the SAPs have become an all-purpose organization with an overstretched mandate which is impossible to fulfill. So that is huge. That is basically the police saying that they cannot protect you. On record, it's open, it's public knowledge. Scary fact. So luckily, in South Africa, we have got a constitution that is focused on life and personal liberty. South Africa in its current form is a very young country, and we've actually got a very modern constitution, which I personally am incredibly grateful for. It's the only thing keeping us safe from our current government that is looking to strip away firearm rights. But we're not going to talk too much about that in this video. In this video, we're going to have a look at self-defense, shooting in self-defense, using deadly force to protect your life or someone else's life. And that's what this video is about today. So let's get into it. Alright, so off the bat, I'm just going to state that I am not a practicing lawyer myself, so nothing in this video constitutes actual legal advice. So this is basically just a summary, an overview of what the law says in South Africa. There's also a lot of case law to back this up. I'll leave a couple of those cases in the description of the video. We highly recommend joining up with Firearms Guardian. We are all clients of theirs ourselves. We have been for a long time because we honestly believe in the service. So if you do decide to join up at no extra cost to you, just click the gun license little link in the drop down menu. No extra cost to you, it just lets them know that we are still sending them love. But essentially what you get there is expert legal advice. They will also defend you in court for up to 300,000 Rand with their more premium option. They will organize you bail. They're basically like a big brother if you are ever charged criminally when defending yourself. Super good bunch of guys. I obviously highly recommend them myself. But go check them out. They have got a whole laundry list of benefits for you and your family at a very small premium. So just for that peace of mind alone, I say it's totally worth it. Okay, so let's have a look at what the law says about shooting in self-defense. And I think it's very important that we start right at the base with our constitution, right, which only came into effect in 1997. So it's an incredibly young constitution. It's very modern, and it puts a massive focus on life and liberty, which I think is bloody excellent. There's not a lot of constitutions on this planet right now that afford its citizens these types of rights. So first and foremost, all South Africans have a right to life and bodily integrity. So that kind of forms the basis for the other laws that we're going to chat about, which are namely going to be common law, the Firearms Control Act, and the Criminal Procedure Act, because all of these subsets of laws basically touch on self-defense and how you can basically effect or protect your right to life and also to bodily integrity. All right, so there's several different pieces of law that we're going to have a look at together. So the Firearms Control Act basically governs how you can carry guns, right? The second that there is a incident where your life is in danger, the Criminal Procedure Act and common law takes over. And what this states is that you may use any means at your disposal to defend your life, self-defense, or the life of another, private or third-party defense, if an unlawful attack has begun or is imminent. So what that basically means is if you reasonably believe that your life is in danger, you can use any means at your disposal. People like to talk about proportionality of force, and yes, that is a factor. But what that means is, if somebody is charging at me with a panga, I don't have to defend myself with a panga, right? If somebody is trying to bash my head in with a brick, I don't have to defend myself with a brick. Can I die if somebody hits me in the head with a brick? Of course I can. So that is deadly force that is being used against me. What if somebody slashes me in the neck with that panga? It's deadly force. So I can then respond with deadly force, i.e. the use of a firearm. So on the back of that, there are 3 legal principles or 3 legal pillars that must be in place before you can produce your firearm, and then those 3 legal principles or pillars must still be in place before you actually shoot your weapon. And what these 3 principles or pillars are, the very first one and the most important is there must be a threat against life and not property. Okay, everybody has the right to life, including the criminal. So the only time that he, inverted commas, gives up his right to life is if he endangers somebody else's life. Right, so what this means is, if you're standing at home in your kitchen and you look out your window and you see somebody trying to hotwire your car, you can't shoot them for it. Are you the victim of a crime? Yes, but your life is not in danger. So you cannot use deadly force because there's no potential deadly force being used against you. So that's the first one. There must be an attack against life, not property. There are 1 or 2 extenuating circumstances where people have shot to defend property, but in so doing, their livelihood. But that's a story for another day. 99% of the time, there has to be a threat against actual life, not property. The second pillar is that the attack must be unlawful. So what that means is the mantle of innocence must be firmly placed on your head. What this is, you must be the victim. You cannot go and commit a crime or antagonize somebody or start a fight, lose the fight, and then pull out your firearm. A classic example of people doing this is getting involved in road rage incidents, where instead of de-escalating the situation, they want to be the they're going to show this guy now what's what because I have a gun. Guys, that is the quickest way to take a lawful shooting and make it an unlawful shooting. Okay, guns and ego do not mix. So you need to make sure that you are in fact the victim in this situation. You cannot go and, like I said, involve yourself in criminal nonsense and then be protected under the law. And the last one is that the attack must be imminent or have already begun. Okay, so if you are threatened verbally and somebody says, listen, I'm going to stab you tomorrow, you can't shoot them now because at that moment in time it's just words. However, if they rock up the next day with a knife and they run at you, well, is the attack imminent? Of course it is. Or if somebody gets a shot at you, the attack has now begun. So just to recap, there must be a threat to life, not property. The attack or the threat must be unlawful and it must be imminent. If these 3 criteria are met, all of a sudden, the law protects you in a defensive shooting. Now, a massive disclaimer here is we never look for reasons to shoot, right? Our whole idea as an armed civilian is to try and avoid trouble as far as possible. So what this means is try everything in our power not to have to shoot somebody. Okay, shooting is only there as an absolute last resort when nothing else is an option. We can't escape, we can't evade, we can't de-escalate the situation. We literally need to make the decision between do I die or do I shoot? Okay, so it's very, very important that we have a firm understanding of why we actually carry firearms for self-defense. And the reason for that is to preserve innocent life as an absolute last resort. Nothing else. Guns are not there to be the big man. Guns are not there to intimidate people. Guns are not there to teach people a lesson. Guns in a civilian capacity are there to defend innocent life as an absolute last resort. Now, having said that, there's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a massive misconception that you will go to jail if you shoot somebody, right? That is just not the case. There's been many way more recent cases where people have been charged, which sometimes will happen, but that's a topic for another video. Just because you're charged with something does not mean that you're going to jail. It's procedural based law. And remember, you're not shooting to secure a parking spot. You're literally shooting to save a life. So, people want to tell me that, they're not interested in getting a gun because if you shoot someone, you go to jail. I'm going to be honest with you. Even if I had to decide between saving my family and going to jail, I'll go fucking sit in jail happily if it means that my family doesn't get raped and murdered. So that kind of squashes that whole argument. It's a victim mentality to say, no, I'm not going to get a gun because if I do defend my family, I'm going to jail. Well, I mean, if that's the choice, then make the right choice. But that's not how it works. Okay. So you will not just go to jail. There is a lot of provocative headlines. When people do defend themselves, there's sometimes a case that gets opened. Once again, Firearms Guardian will be one way to circumnavigate this whole debacle. They will advocate on your behalf to possibly get a inquest docket opened instead of a case. Anyway, just massively good idea to have them on your side. But what happens is you shoot someone, possibly a case is opened, the media hears about it, and all of a sudden you read these headlines, man shot, man going to jail. It's just not the case. Sometimes people do go to jail for murder. Remember, you were not there when this person defended themselves. Now, this is not a blanket statement, but I do know of a couple of cases where somebody shot in what they claimed was self-defense. It wasn't actually self-defense. They were actually trying to teach the suspect a lesson. All right? Very, very, very important here that you do not ever use your gun to teach someone a lesson. Do not use your gun in anger. If you're going to use your firearm as an absolute last resort, you're good. So some of this can seem maybe a little bit confusing. Now, what we cover in most of our firearm classes is the law and what it says about self-defense. So basically everything that you've just heard here, just a little bit more elaborate, and we teach it in more of like a workshop type of environment where you get to ask all of your questions, and we make sure that you have a really deep understanding of what the law says and why I would need to shoot or not shoot. So just to give you a quick little example of what we teach is we empower you to make your own decisions whether you shoot or you don't shoot. So there's a little question that we apply to this, and it sounds long-winded when I explain it, but the more that you practice this, you will be able to make this decision of, do I pull my weapon and then do I shoot my weapon in the blink of an eye. So it goes a little something like this. Right now, at this very moment in time, if I'm true to myself and I listen to that gut feeling, right, that subconscious brain that picks up on 20 data points before my conscious mind has picked up on 2, do I honestly believe that there is a threat to life? If the answer is no, I do not pull my weapon. I talk, I pepper spray, I run away, I elbow somebody in the jaw, I do something else that does not pertain to my firearm. I'll give you a quick little example of when I actually used this myself. So I used to live in Stellenbosch, and I was walking down the road one day, and 3 guys attacked me with knives and screwdrivers. They basically pulled out the weapons and they said, give me your phone. Now, I asked myself at this very moment in time, if I'm true to myself, do I fear for life? And I answered, yes, I do. So my gun came out and they complied and they dropped to the ground. So now I'm standing there, there's 3 guys on the ground, one's crying for his mother. That was very, very funny to see that flip happen. And all of a sudden now, I need to ask myself that question again, right now, at that very moment in time. If I'm true to myself, do I fear for life? I've got 3 guys on the ground. No, I don't. So I don't shoot. If I were to have shot in that situation, I would have very well been charged with murder or attempted murder, depending on how many times and where I shot them. And I would have been one of those headlines that you read about, which makes people think that if you shoot somebody in self-defense, you go to jail. If I had have shot in that instance, it would not have been self-defense. It would have been murder, and I would not be defending myself. I would be teaching them a lesson. So, that's just a personal example of when that decision basically was used correctly. So if you're watching this video and you haven't yet got a gun of your own, you can check out this video to see exactly how to do that. Until next time, keep well.